Hello, people. This is John Manimas Medeiros, and I just want to make a brief closing video to say goodbye and good luck to the John Manimas Campaign. We'll see if this can carry forward to the next presidential election in 2024, and I will continue to try to awaken and arouse the non-voters, non-voters anonymous of America, for them to kind of discover and appreciate their true power. They can elect a president who's neither a Republican or a Democrat easily, simply by organizing and voting. Of course, they would need presidential electors. They would need people to volunteer to be presidential electors in at least 20 states, and preferably more than that. They could have a convention and nominate a truly credible presidential candidate. But before we jump ahead to 2024, I want to point out the connections in our history with the past and the present, the election of 2020. And I also want to make a prediction regarding the outcome of the 2020 election that I expect. So first, here's the connections. Going all the way back to 1619, when slaves were first brought to the North American colonies, we began our history with a conflict between the nobility and labor, the people who are employers and the people who are employees. The colonies needed people to do the work on the plantations, and that gave birth to what James Lawson calls plantation capitalism. And that is the problem with capitalism in the United States of America. It is plantation capitalism. Capitalism in the United States doesn't mean employing tools and machines and land and factories to benefit the people. It means employing all these things for the selfish profits of a selfish group, an American nobility, an American political class. It means minority rule. It doesn't mean majority rule. The two-party system protects minority rule. The American nobility is afraid of democracy and always have been. Their only goal is to control the labor that creates the wealth that provides their privileges and their comforts. It's kind of a grim view, but there's a lot of evidence to support it. So 1619 is connected with 1863, when President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation in the middle of our Civil War. It did emancipate the slaves, but only in the sense that a white person could not own a black person. We still have always had the problem with us of the conflict between labor and capital. 1619 and 1863 are connected with the 1960s, when the civil rights movement arose again, when millions of white Americans with a conscience woke up to the reality that people had to change trains when they traveled from north to south to get off the integrated train to get on the white train or the black train according to their color. They discovered that everybody in the former Confederate states had separate entrances to restaurants and public buildings, all kinds of public spaces and buildings. The only place that the African Americans could all enter through the same door was their own churches. Pretty much everywhere else there was a Negro entrance, a Negro bathroom, a Negro water fountain, a Negro telephone. So we saw that on TV. If you're as old as I am, we saw the civil rights movement and the ugliness and cruelty and stupidity of the American Confederacy. And all that is connected to the present, to the election of 2020, because in 2016, some very conned, foolish suckers, uneducated, plainly stupid people, about 60 million of them, maybe 70 million, voted for Donald Trump having no understanding whatsoever that they were voting for someone who despises them and would never do what is in their best interest, and he only does what's in his personal best interest, his conception of his best interest as a selfish and psychopathic narcissist. So since his election, we have seen the Klan and white supremacists strengthen their grip on the Republican Party and American politics. And Donald Trump has gone a long way. I call him Trumpolini because he's very similar to Mussolini. He's gone a long way in destroying the federal government, destroying the power of the government, and in destroying the mission, the true mission of the federal government to protect the public health and safety. The true mission of the Klan, the white supremacists, the few, a minority of rich people in America, the few selfish rich. Their mission is to prevent the federal government from regulating their business. They don't want financial operations to be regulated. They don't want banks and investment organizations to be regulated. They don't want mining to be regulated, drilling, manufacturing, anything. They don't want industry and commerce to be regulated. They really want a confederacy. They really want to go back where each state can do whatever they want, and including treat some groups as second-class citizens. That is the hallmark of the Confederacy. And that's what the 2020 election is about. If you choose the Democrats, you're choosing to continue our effort to create a strong and free United States of America. If you vote the Republicans, you're voting to go back to the Confederacy and have each state be acting like an independent republic where they can choose whether labor has any rights and whether ethnic groups have any rights or whether immigrants have any rights. So I must add also my prediction in this closing video. You see, I believe Donald Trump will be reelected because 60 to 70 million stupid American people will vote, and not as many educated and smart, intelligent voters will vote. I don't fully understand why this happens, because it seems if you were an intelligent voter, you would vote knowing that you need to. But there's something else going on that's complicated, hard to explain. Maybe history is a yo-yo. Empires rise, such as the Empire of the United States of America, and empires fall. But I believe what's going to happen is Donald Trump is going to be reelected, but he's not going to be president for very long because within 6 months or less, the Republican Party is going to make use of a team they probably already pre-organized, a team of cabinet members, members of the military, business leaders, whoever can be on a committee according to the 25th Amendment. They will be there and they will remove Donald Trump from office because it's clear he's falling apart mentally and physically. He's a wreck. The man is a wreck. He makes no sense. He doesn't even do what he seems to think is in his best interest. Makes crazy statements all the time. He lies all the time. He doesn't remember what he said, or he's just lying, and of course he remembers and denies what he said. So he will be removed from office, and the president will be Mike Pence. The vice president will become president. And you need to know more about Mike Pence, who will be your president if you vote for Donald Trump. He sees himself as a person who God has always planned to make president. It's God's plan for him. He likes low wages. He likes to impose his personal religious beliefs on the government and on the people. He's against freedom of choice for women. He's against public schools. He even wanted to create a government news service. He's an extreme right-winger. He's a fanatical Christian, Christian in name only. It's the kind of Christian who I would call a hate Christian rather than a love and forgiving Christian, as Jesus taught and practiced. Jesus practiced understanding, forgiveness, nurturing, the Sermon on the Mount, the standard of evaluation, nurturing the weak and vulnerable, not stepping on their necks and killing them. So that's the man who will be president if you vote for Donald Trump. Keep that in mind in your 2020 election. The choice you're making is not between right and left, between a lesser of two evils. The Democratic Party represents the United States of America, and the Republican Party represents the Confederate States of America. You better believe it, because that's the choice you're making. So at this present election and in future elections, non-voters are 40% of the voting people. They are 40% of those who are eligible to vote, and they habitually do not vote. But what you non-voters can do, Non-Voters Anonymous, is you can use the Real Democracy Party in the future. The website should be staying up, because that's the plan, to keep it up online. And you can use the Real Democracy Party, and you can find volunteers to serve as presidential electors. You can create chapters in each state of the party. You can vote as a group, vote as a block, and then you will decide who's president of the United States. Because every state but two, 48 states except for Maine and Nebraska, which accounts for only 9 electoral votes, 5 for Nebraska, 4 for Maine. All the other electoral votes are awarded according to plurality in every state, the largest states and the smallest. In other words, whichever presidential candidate gets the most votes, not necessarily a majority, doesn't have to be more than 50%, could be 40%. But whoever gets the most votes gets all the electoral votes of the state. And that means the 50 states, their electoral votes could all go to the candidate that the non-party, non-voter people vote for if they organize as a bloc and vote together to elect the president, to finally adopt the elections reforms we must have if we are to save our democracy and function as a democratic government with majority rule. Why? Why all this trouble? Why is all this work necessary? It's necessary because the two-party system is vulnerable to corruption, and it has been totally corrupted. A rich, selfish minority hires people to run for them and represent them in their interest. There are many, many representatives in the House, and there are senators who don't represent their states or their districts. They represent the corporations who gave them money, and that's why our government is being destroyed. If you want to stop this and you want to start again to build a real democracy in America and have majority rule, we have to retire the two-party system. We have to replace it. We have to have mandatory voting, what's called ranked choice voting, fusion voting, party coalitions. We have to have a multi-party system. The two-party system is destroying American democracy. Anybody who has eyes to see can see it happening, and it is sad. Your country is dying. Your democracy is sick and dying. Non-voters, you can save it. If you don't think I have the right plan, make another plan of your own, but do it. Democracy is something you do, and if you're not voting, you're not doing it. If you're wondering who's responsible for American democracy, make it your responsibility. That's the minimum duty of a citizen. Make America responsible again. Make voting viral. You can be, and you will be, if you wish to, you will be the revolution by vote. So thanks for listening, and goodbye, and good luck. There may be videos in the future on this channel, but the John Manimas Campaign is over.